Thank you, Dr. Ali, for the presentation. And I would like to start by welcoming everybody in EDUGATE, which became a landmark actually in the educational events, maybe not only in Egypt, but in the region. And we're always happy to share our expertise and our vision and our insight generally about what will be going on the in the coming few years. Actually, Dr. Ali Shamsuddin and his team exerted enormous efforts to make it a success. So thank you very much, Dr. Ali, and your team for everything you did. I was asked to moderate the second session, and now we have the two sessions. So you will excuse me for the names, but I think he ticked on the names. The first session was with the title of Higher Education, a look at the present and the future, while the second session about how the technology of the future look like. Very difficult question, I think. Nobody knows how it will look like. It's changing every day and every hour. So I would like to welcome the panel, the whole panel. And thank you very much for sharing this with us. Professor Vince Emery, President University of Hertfordshire in Egypt. Thank you very much. And Professor Nadia Al-Arif, President Eselsa University in Egypt. And Mr. Mahmoud Adib, the CEO and board member, Innovera Middle East. And Professor Abdurrahman Zikri, dear friend, the Vice President of Cairo University. And Dr. Kim Critchley, the Provost University of Prince Edward Island, Cairo. He's with us? Yeah. Mr. Magid Al-Arif, CEO and co-founder of Variance Company. Hello, Mr. Magid. And Professor Leslie Crossford, Senior Vice President, British University in Egypt. He's Professor Leslie. Thank you very much for being with us. And Dr. Hossam Osman, the Vice President, IT Industry Development Agency, ITIDA, a very important agency, and I think you'll tell us a lot, especially about the topic, the second topic maybe. And Mr. Ihab Salama, the CEO of Swedi Education. Hello, Ihab. So, just for setting the stage, we'll speak about the higher education and look at the present and the future. Actually, the landscape of higher education, we can all witness, we have been witnessing actually for a while and still going on, the very rapid change of the landscape of higher education worldwide and in our part of the world, maybe especially because of you know, we don't have the same resources. We have a little bit of limited resources compared to the West, for example. When the COVID-19 hit the whole world over the past year very hardly, every corner of our globe, and the higher education as well as primary education has been suspended February, March 2020. Here in this country, higher education has been suspended in the 15th of March 2020. Where I always ask myself, were we well prepared for go everything online, and whether the meetings, the classrooms, the seminars, everything went online all of a sudden. Maybe some of our universities and institutes were prepared for that. Me, if I speak about Ain Shams, and I've been a Dean of Faculty of Medicine for 4 years before arriving at to be the President of Ain Shams University, and I've been honored for that. We did a great work for whether telemedicine or the e-learning. And maybe Dr. Mona Abdelal with us here, I can see her in the floor. She's the one who did the whole job in the Faculty of Medicine, and now she's extrapolating on the, at the university level. But to tell you the truth, It was just a complementary type of education, and we never considered it as a must. And all of a sudden, overnight, we waked up in the morning and we were faced the reality that it must be a must for everybody. So this was a big challenge. But amid the challenges, there are always opportunities and talents that appear, and brave young men and women that comes and says, yes, we can do it, yes, we can make it. And we were fortunate to have this team. And I'm sure this happened in every university in Egypt and in the region and all over the world. So let me leave the floor, because I think we were already late, started very late. And in the interest of time, I will give the space for each and everybody of you to give us their insight. And I'll leave it free. If you want to speak about the higher education at the present and future, it's okay. And the IT people who are leading us now, who are leading the world, if you want to speak about the second topic, again, it's okay. So Professor Vince Emery, maybe I'll give you the mic, and we'd love to hear from you about your insight about that.
Okay, thank you very much. Salam alaikum. And it's a great pleasure to be able to participate in this event as President of University of Hertfordshire, hosted by Global Academic Foundation. We were given a bit of a landscape to explore in the first session, so I shall just touch on some of those areas and give you my thoughts. I think the important thing is that often it does actually interface with the second session, so that's by design, I suppose. Present challenges, I think we just heard about COVID-19. I think, how do we come out of that? And actually, how do we reflect on the experiences and how can we learn from those experiences? And that very much is bound up in technology. You know, how have we used technology? What's the great things about using technology? But also, what's the downsides of technology use? And how do we appreciate that being on campus, the student experience, the staff experience? I think everyone's realised that's a really important part of being a student and being at a university. Looking to the future, certainly we need dynamic strategies. I think we have to bear in mind, how can we add value to the student journey, and how do we meet students' expectations, ever rising expectations? And also, how do we engage our students in lifelong learning skills? How do we give them those skills such that as they go through their careers, having multiple jobs, do they have those learning skills? Do they have the critical thinking skills that allows them to actually mature as an individual and seek out and get the jobs that they want? And contribute, of course, to society. And again, contribution, I think, of universities is absolutely important, and obviously contributions to the Egypt 2030 vision, but also, and it was alluded to earlier, how we can all contribute to realising the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. We were asked to comment on advice for students. I've always had one bit of advice for students, that is, do what you really want to do. Follow your ambition and be passionate about what you do. Don't necessarily follow what other people tell you what to do. So it's very much your choice. But very much grasp that concept of being a global citizen. There are enormous opportunities now, even with the COVID situation, but you can still be a global citizen. And as we move forward in time, global citizenship, global appreciation is, I think, going to be a key aspect of everyone's lives. And again, I've sort of alluded to lifelong learning skills, but you need to be flexible as a student, you need to be adaptable, and you need to understand how continual professional development is an absolute key factor in your maturing as a workforce contributor and a contributor to society. We were asked to comment on advice to leadership teams. I think one clear thing for me is that, have a great strategy and make sure it's fit for purpose. It's interesting, we need to balance short-term and long-term investments and strategy. Interesting, I think a recent survey said that some 33% of universities actually said they lacked a clear vision or strategy. That's quite a high proportion in my view. But how do we articulate what we as senior leadership teams do to everyone? Communication is clearly very important. I do a little test amongst my colleagues in the UK sometimes. I ask students, do you know the name of your president or vice chancellor? And it's remarkable how few students actually, and sometimes even staff, don't actually know who the name. They never know that apparently. And again, how do we embrace technology? How do we embrace the massive data that we can now access? So how do we use analytics to improve what we do and inform what we do? And again, I'm sure we'll hear more of that from the other colleagues. We need efficient and effective processes and governance structures. And clearly the sector, especially in Egypt, is expanding at pace. So how do we maintain the quality of the student experience? How do we maintain academic standards? And how do we add value to our students' experience? And obviously networks, both nationally and internationally, form an important part of that. And then the last section was really around policies and practice. And I'll just maybe pick up on the quality aspect. You know, quality assurance, accreditation is an absolute must to set the appropriate standards for the educational experience. In the UK, we've in 2017 launched our so-called Teaching Excellence Framework. Again, it sets parameters that allows an award at gold, silver or bronze to reflect the quality of the educational experience. And interestingly, some universities who, shall we say, rank very highly in the UK did not achieve a gold award. So, you know, it wasn't just a case that the great universities automatically got gold. They did not. But clearly, we need to understand the important role that quality assurance plays in our process, and again, make sure that we enhance the quality of what we provide to our students. And obviously, that then allows them to have the right learning skills. It allows them to graduate with good degrees that are ultimately going to give them the opportunities for employment. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Leslie, for your insight about the changing landscape. But maybe a question that maybe will be answered by one of the panelists, if not Dr. Emery, about how you see the, amid what we're living and everything is online. Because you spoke about the quality, and yes, the technology is nice and technology is very good, and we're all striving for the technology and the very rapid progress that we're all. But from my background, being a physician, a surgeon, and a professor of medicine, at least in the medical sector, for example, in the engineering sector and that, there are some practical and hands-on skills that has to be gained, and some claims said that no, there will be no problem, we can manage by the current system, and because we are obliged to. But still I think we have some concerns about that, about gaining skills, especially by omitting a lot of the hands-on experience and the hands-on training. And the second thing will go also to the e-exams and proctoring and the academic integrity and all what's revolving about this point. If you can just answer.
I can kick off at least the first part of that, and I think, you know, I'm a virologist and experimental scientist, so I appreciate the issue around labs, and I think that has been one of the big challenges for all of us. I think what it's actually taught us as well is that it's amazing how many virtual labs you can run, and how actually sophisticated many of those simulations are now. It doesn't replace the hands-on, but it actually complements, and I think as we move forward, we may see quite an interesting mixed model where we prime our students with the online experience and the virtual labs and virtual surgery, etc., and then subsequently we take them into the proper learning environment of a laboratory or a clinical setting and so on. And I think, you know, again, I'm sure my colleagues will comment on, you know, the challenges of online examinations, you know, not to be underestimated. But again, there are secure ways you can do this. But again, if you want people to write an essay-type response, you know, doing that online is actually quite complicated, I think. I like to write things. So consequently, you know, I think there remain challenges in the online examination front.
Yeah, I share with you this concern, so it's good that you're comfortable that about the gaining and acquiring skills, we still can make it. Now we'll move to Professor Nadia Al-Arif. Do you have a presentation? Yes, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. At the very beginning, I would like to extend my warm appreciation to Professor Dr. Ali Shams for organizing the event under very challenging circumstances, and warm regards to the panelists and the members of the panel. It's really an honor to join this event. That's the second year that Islaska University participates. And I believe that we all have the same worries, we have the same pains regarding what happened due to COVID-19 in higher education worldwide. So although we at Islaska University, we had a very smooth transition, maybe because we were prepared in advance. So the transition was very smooth to the online when it came, whether it's an undergraduate program or our graduate programs. I have to, at the very beginning, to extend my warm appreciation to all our professors who really adapted very quickly to the new system of online education. So what I'm going to talk about today is simply just the highlights of our experience over the past year and university experiences worldwide. So I believe this is a reset of higher education, what's happening now. So many changes have happened. Now we are facing empty lecture halls, deserted campuses, which leads us to a very critical question of what will campuses look like in the future? This is a question that all universities are facing now. We have virtual classrooms and sudden transition to online learning. The environment, the higher education environment has radically changed. We have smaller physical classes now after the pandemic due to social distancing. We have to hire more professors and instructors to cope with what's happening, increase in the number of classes. We have to go to blended learning, whether we are ready for it or not. This has become the fact of the matter. And the departments and visions of schools worldwide are changing. We are adapting to the new reality, where the student is an active partner in the educational process. The unprecedented challenges which we were never prepared to deal with before was the lack of internet infrastructure. If we look at what the UNESCO said, that almost due to the COVID-19, almost 776 million learners worldwide were deprived from education. In Africa, if you look at the statistics, you'll find that almost 4 out of 5 learners, whether at the undergraduate or graduate level, they have been deprived of education due to the lack of the infrastructure needed. In addition to the fact that there is a very major question, are those learners, whether they are young, children or adults, are they tech savvy? Do they know how to deal with technology? Or this is a big challenge for them at the same time. Also, the student engagement. It's very difficult. We as professors have faced the challenge of how to engage your students in online education. Even if you are a great professor, you prepare your lectures in a great manner, still it is so difficult to keep the concentration and the engagement of students for more than, their attention span is very short, especially if you look at the young age, not the graduates. Other challenges is the participation. We all are facing the challenge of talking to black screens. The students do not open their cameras, they resist open participation, and this is another challenge. How are you going to assess the students' participation? How are you going to evaluate their performance? This is really getting to be very demanding. Also, authenticating assignment submissions. How can you be sure that this student whom you are giving a grade to is the one who actually did the assignment or who is submitting the paper or who is doing the presentation? These are all challenges. And we don't have solutions yet, unfortunately. We as educators, we are still trying to work it out. The study habits have changed. Now you give an exam, the students solve the exams in groups. We all know this, although they get individual grading. And this can be very, it can result in a lot of injustice to really excellent or well-performing students. We have plagiarism concerns. We cannot control plagiarism. Even, for universities like Esleska, who got like a proctoring artificial intelligence system to monitor exams, yet still, as someone was saying, if the student is writing an essay or is submitting a case, then plagiarism is there and you cannot control it. Cash flow is being affected in a very critical manner because enrollment has dropped worldwide. Many students worldwide have decided, for example, to take a gap year. Why should they invest in education if they can go to any of like Khan Academy or Edimi and get the same kind of knowledge or maybe even better in a cheaper manner? All of these are our challenges as educators that we really have to deal with in the future. And we go back to the same question. Wouldn't it be better to have smaller campuses so you don't have the running cost of a big campus? Many universities worldwide have decided to have satellite campuses instead of a big campus. And this is something that we have to consider. Even organizations are moving from bigger buildings to smaller office buildings because now they've discovered that employees can work at home as efficiently as they work in the office. So why don't we save space? And this is another trend that's affecting also the higher education. We need to review the courses and the programs developed by faculty. Okay? All our courses and curriculums, according to the futuralists who looked at academia, they said universities or colleges are relatively quite similar in their programs, even before the COVID, and that they are characterized by aging academics like me and other academics who actually resist change. So this is something that we have to take into consideration, how to manage resistance to change, how to accept the fact that the courses and programs and curricula have to be totally different in the COVID era. Let's look at professors. I do sympathize very much. Being a professor myself, and now as university president, I do sympathize very much with professors. What are the professors asked to do? Suddenly, they were asked to shift courses online to new platforms that they were quite unfamiliar with. That was a big challenge. And additionally, learn new technologies. It's not an option, it's obligatory if you want to survive and continue teaching. Additionally, don't get sick. Because if you get sick, the students won't be lectured, so you have to stay safe. And the major issue of dealing with your kids' social distance learning. Now homeschooling has become the trend, and this is a big challenge. And if anybody debates the issue that you are overreacting to the pandemic in the educational system, they accuse you of being maybe too aggressive, too oversensitive, and these are facts. We are all dealing with it as humans, you know. And you're facing institutional decisions that you can't control. The lecture is 3 hours, while actually a lecture online for 3 hours is equal to double or triple the effort that you give in an in-class 3-hour lecture. And this is another challenge. And maybe this requires from the regulators and the ones who issue policies, to review the number of credit hours and all of this and the contact hours of different classes, because it's becoming quite difficult for professors. And multitasking and unmanageable workloads. You know, we always looked at academicians when you come to recruit. You look at academicians and you expect them, you rank them, not on their teaching, because teaching is a must, but you rank them on their publications, you rank them on the research, on their participation in conferences and community events. But now it has to change. If they do a good job at teaching, because teaching is what's keeping your students enrolled in the university, then this has to be number one. Don't put extra pressure on your faculty members by asking them to work on research under such dire conditions. And the future academic force has changed worldwide. Now we are seeing many freelance academics. They're freelancing across many institutions worldwide. Now they're zooming from all over the world to different parts, giving lectures, giving webinars, seminars, and all that. So there are many new stressors related to the pandemic, absent child care and schools, accelerating or unrelenting expectations from colleagues, and the mental health. Mental health has become very, very much affected during the past year, and it's not something to be dealt with in a light manner. It is a serious challenge. So we as faculty, or our faculty, are suffering from a burnout. And we never, as universities, had to deal with burnout. It was only on a very limited span. Now there are very serious, there is a Zoom burnout, dealing with everything on Zoom, lack of sleep, a lot of responsibilities, the imbalance between work and the remaining responsibilities in your life. All of this is really too much for academics. As yesterday was the Women's and the Female Genders Day of Celebration worldwide, I had to go to the female academics and look at what they are facing during the COVID-19 pandemic. I do sympathize very much with the female academics because they are bearing the motherhood penalty. They have to work at a job, and then they have more responsibilities than men. And when they finish their shift in the universities, they have to go back and work at home, taking care of family members and homeschooling their kids. So the female academics, we have to salute them. If we have female academics, I do salute all of you. And I think you're doing a great job, you know. And so we have to advance future education and believe that students have the right to be more involved in developing their curricula because they're becoming more agile, quite too smart. And I have also to salute all the administrators at the different higher education institutions for the great job they did to sail through the storm of the COVID-19. And thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Magda. Professor Nadia, actually, for a very inspiring, comprehensive presentation, but you touched, do you have a mic if we have somebody want to ask any question? Or you stay maybe on the podium for a while? If you, yeah. So because you touched on a very important, several actually important points. One of them is future campuses and how should they look like, or how big they will be, or how small they will be. And I asked myself this question because now we are in the middle of constructing an annex for Ain Shams University in eastern Cairo on 150 acres, a huge project with billions of.
Yeah.
So are we going to be in need of this huge space in the future? This is a question that we posed to ourselves and we didn't answer yet. And you touched it very nicely.
And nobody has an answer, I believe. It's just the running cost that will be too high.
And even the cost of building it from the
because it becomes like some sort of a phantom campus, you know, where nobody is moving around, you know.
Yeah. And of course, you touched on the stressors, which again is a very important point. I think all of us are feeling it. I don't know if any of the panelists would like to raise a point about that. For the time being and for the near future, I think we cannot do more than that. You touched on all points, and you gave the answers as well. For the female instructor or the female professors, I totally agree with you and share with you that they are totally overloaded. And 54% or maybe 55% of Ain Shams University staff are females. So
they did a great job.
They did a great job. Anybody would like to say or to pose a question to Dr. Nadia? So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So now we move to Mr. Mahmoud Adib, the CEO and the board member of Innovera Middle East.
Egypt and Africa.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you, Dr. Nadia. Actually, I'm going to continue on the same direction and ask you the questions which is in the morning. Do we still need a campus? As we speak right now, there is a lots of discussion around the world. The shape, the way, how the campus and the future of the campus. Is it big? Is it small? Are we spending billions and billions of dollars? We just use the campus for 6, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. What will happen for the campus? Nobody knows as we speak right now. There is a lot of architects, a lot of educations, people sitting, discussing this one. In the last 10 years, all of us heard about the concept about smart campus. But when COVID-19 hit us, did the smart campus solve the problems? Unfortunately, the answer, no. So things changing, and things after the COVID-19 will be different. Even the smart campus will be different, and the shape of the campus will be different. Albert Einstein said one thing: learning is an experience. Everything else, just information. So what we are after right now, we are looking after the experience. How the student will take the experience of the learning, the experience of receiving the information, understanding the information, and getting what? Engagement. We would like to encourage all university and anyone is right now working on project for university to invest more in technology. You need to invest in data center, private cloud, telecommunication links, data security and cyber security. This is the core that you need to invest. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, most of universities were ignoring this one. They're saying, what will happen for me? I don't care. All my students are here. They are under secure network. What's happening right now? There is a shift in the thinking. You need to have more and more audiovisual equipment, the latest and the greatest. IoT, the smart about Internet of Things, and how can you have this kind of integration in the environments? Artificial intelligence, it is not anymore a concept, it's becoming a practical things. You need to apply more and more artificial intelligence. Why artificial intelligence is needed? Because it will grow, it will evolve with you over time. Game theory. I believe some of you right now, they heard about the game theory in education. Education is not becoming anymore about just question and answer. It's right now you're giving the chance to the student to think his own way, and you have multiple ways to open these options. Like a room was having 6 or 7 doors. You let the student choose which door he will go, and he doesn't know what will happen. So he can answer the things in a different way, and more important, to learn in a different way. More data analytics, big data. Why big data is important? When you have big data with you, you can predict, you can understand, you can see what will happen. You can able to take information early enough, and then you take the right decision. Ignoring the data, historical data, and information that you collect over the years, and just keep running the things exactly the same, is wrong. Generic platform and education marketplace. We believe that soon you will find a generic platform, a generic marketplace that will allow several vendors, several people to come at one place. And like an Amazon, think about it like a big Amazon, but for education. And everyone and anyone will go to this Amazon of education and try to select what he likes and what he prefer to see. And even the student will be building their own courses and building what kind of degree I would like to take. Immersive learning. Immersive learning it's about better engagement. Dr. Nadia mentioned again one thing. She said that students, they were sitting in the Zoom in front of the screen for hours and hours, but they were not engaged. Now you will see more and more technology coming and integrated together. Augmented reality, virtual reality, merged reality, all this kind of things is coming as one area of technology that will allow the student to have better engagement. Again, we are after the engagement of the students into the education process itself. So, the challenge is the flexibility. The new concept of the campus has to be flexible. Why I have 20, 30, 40, 50 rooms, big halls, 10 buildings, 20 buildings, 10,000 square meters, 20,000 square meters. Why am I spending this money? And when the pandemic came, everything's disappeared. Dr. Nadia again mentioned about the running cost. You have an issue right now with your CAPEX and your OPEX. Your calculation will be different. If you are a private education, or even if you are a government, you need to think again. Why I'm building this one? So even the seating area of the classroom has to change. The furniture type has to change. The way that you're doing the building itself, rather than you make a big hall, you make a small halls. Rather than you make one big HQ, you might have satellite buildings. Things will change, and it change is good. The only constant things in life is change. So the future of the campus, what? Connected, real connectivity. Not to say that I have an internet and that's it. By the way, more than 70% of all organizations under the pressure of COVID-19, they failed. At least 20 countries around the world, when they starting on switching on their own e-exam and their own e-learning system, they failed because they could not predict that they will have this amount of people at the same time. So internet and networking down. Flexibility is the key. Think about it as flexible. And resilience. You have more than one options, more than one way to do the things. Bill Gates said, content is the king. By the way, he said that almost 23 years ago. Today, people who listened to him 20 years ago are now making billions and billions of dollars because content, unfortunately, we in Egypt here, we don't have content outside of Egypt. We're still doing our own content within our Egypt. We need to create content. Content is money. We encourage any organization to build their own content. The future is for content. Once you have the content, then you can sell it. It's a valuable commodity. This is the important things. So to close here, campus and a smart campus will be different, will be flexible. Content is the most important thing to think about it. And thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mahmoud Deeb. We need you here for a while. Maybe somebody would like to ask a question. I would personally ask you, I loved your smart campus, and all of us are striving for this smart and interconnected and campus, as you mentioned. And actually, I'm sure that everybody's working on that. But how do you think we'll tackle, because education in the universities is not only about science and acquiring skills and learning, it's about shaping the personality, about communication skills that we now on vogue that we are teaching as electives, communication skills. So what will be the student of the future if we stay isolated on his internet and computer, although we are all doing that? and comparing him, the personality-wise, with the student of yesterday?
That's a very good question. Actually, as most of you, again, the understanding and learning, and now you can read a lot of things about that there is a lot of stress, fatigue for all of us and the students. And because after some time, then when the students alone and stay away from the university and from the group, he's getting this kind of the feel of loneliness. Now, this is one of the things that's now the immersing technology is, or immersing learning is coming. Because if I can have more engagement from these students, I will make the impact of the technology and he stay away a little bit less. For example, think about that if you have a Zoom meeting. So instead of having one single Zoom, which is 2-dimension, only that's it, I see it in the X and Y, and you think about the same student is sitting on the same screen, and he's starting to rotate some items and taking some item from his colleagues. If you remember Minority Report, most of you maybe remember this movie before about 20 years again, about Minority Report. This kind of things could make things easy on the students. Again, I'm not predicting, but there is a lot of things will happen to indicate what you call it, the psychology of the students. In actual fact, as we speak right now, there is an artificial intelligence programs that sit in the front of Zoom. So you can download it, but it's still in the beta version. That's, if you are with the students, the system from the camera will tell you if this guy is capturing information at a good rate or not. And you're starting to see like 70%, 80%, 90%, and it's telling, this is the student is good, is alarm or not. So the teacher or the professor can starting to think about, oh, Ashraf, talk to me. Muhammad, talk to me. This kind of things, again, is about engagement. We will see a lot of things. And education will be different, as simple as that.
Thank you, Mr. Mahmoud. May I ask, I think Dr. Kim, the president of the Canadian University, joined us. So maybe, can we have a chair for her, please? Do you have a place? Hello, Dr. Kim. Thank you. And now let me move to Professor Abdurrahman Zekri. He's the Vice President for Graduate Student and Graduate Studies and Research. If you can take his place, yeah. Cairo University, and he's a professor of microbiology and a real scientist, I would say. And we shared a lot about liver transplantation together in the good old days. So now you're going to give us your insight about which topic? I think the first one, the present and the future. Is that what we're going to talk about?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear Professor, dear colleagues, I'd like to thank organizing committee for kind invitation. My talk will be 3 parts. Part number 1 about Cairo University. My second part, how the Cairo University is the future. My third part, last part, I will see how the COVID-19 changed the world and how the future actually need to deal with the COVID-19 problem, because we believe it will be stay for most of you know Cairo University, one of the oldest university in Egypt. Our mission not only give high quality education, but actually our mission to make the future available for our students. As we know now, we have completely changed the way of education, and the job is going to be changing in the world in the next couple of years. That means we have to qualify our student who is able to face these new opportunities or new challenge for job changes. The job changes, I came from medical background. If you see how the people doing the medicine in the last 10 years and how the people doing now, is completely different. And I will give some model in my lecture how the future is really changes not only in medicine but also in social science. Therefore, Cairo University is not only education, but also we're doing research, and actually we have a very important task with outreach program for our community. Because education is not only online education. Online education, yes, it's a part. But actually, universities are responsible and highly responsible to help the government. Therefore, each university has to share the government a national problem, has to share the community, has to help the community. Therefore, helping the community is a part of the university should share and should contribute. Therefore, a university not responsible only for education, but they have a higher responsibility. Actually, I will show you some of our responsibility. Cairo University treats 3 million Egyptians every year with 17 hospitals. Therefore, this is one part of Cairo University care about it, not only to teaching students, but also we care about our patient, we care to our national program, we care to our each program. Cairo University, yes, it's a big, we have almost 26 different faculty, and we have 177 service center. This service center doing a lot of work, and actually we are, by using this center, we are involved in many national and international plan and agreement. Actually, as we are big, we are mainly divided in 4 basic sector: basic science, medical sector, engineering, social science, and in humanity. Actually, we output of Cairo University almost 22% of total publication and output from all Egypt. And actually, we have many international journals sharing that. Cairo University already represent in the top ranking in all ranking worldwide, and we almost one of top 100 in different specialties. And we have already international collaboration with more than 150, and we have many mobility fund and the collaboration. This is the most important. This is the future. The future actually is collaboration between brains. We cannot now asking different university not collaborate, not to do exchange, professor exchange. Collaboration is very important in the future. We only concentrate on the online, on Zooming, on the building, but we have to address very important social. I think one of the big problems facing the world now and destroy the economy of the world in the COVID-19. Now, if we look to the online learning, yes, it's a good. You have acquired more students, but actually what about the impact in social life? Campus of the university is not only place people go to have education, they have a life. They have a real life in the campus. Campus is very important to move around, to meet new people, to make friends. This is how the university should be in the future, how to make more friends, how to meet more people, how to communicate with each other better, how we can collaborate, how we can understand different cultures, how we can understand different culture. If I'm staying in Egypt, how I can understand people in the United States, how people in Israel, in Africa. Therefore, collaboration between universities, this is the future. How we can collaborate, how we can work together in one team. Therefore, actually, Cairo University input very high in the future, not only in collaboration with the top-ranking university, but also by enjoying degree, invited more professors. Therefore, yes, we are working blended learning, and we believe in blended learning, and we need it. But actually, not everything online. We need to face, because actually face-to-face, as we call it, eye contact, it means feeling between the student and professor. Therefore, we believe we have to have mixed, blended learning. Sometimes, yes, you are online. Sometimes you have to meet the professor. Sometimes you need to campus. This makes you alive, because you build your personality, actually your integrity during your education process. Education, we believe, education means what? Open-minded, understanding more, interacting more. Because you can have your mobile app, whatever your information, you can download from your app in a minute. And even more information than you will have it. The future is interaction, is living together, is divided by using new technology. Actually, I believe, or at Cairo University, we believe in multidisciplinary aspects. Because now the future is multidisciplinary. You cannot actually working in one field of science without missing the other field. That means Actually, the engineering now, the most invention engineering now goes to medical field. We have an environmental crisis. How going to fix the environmental crisis without multidisciplinary? Therefore, actually, one of the most important things down in COVID-19 is the artificial intelligence and actually mathematical models and physics. How the vaccine has been developed that's very fast by using the high tech and the multidisciplinary. Therefore, multidisciplinary education is mandatory for the future. We cannot close. Social science and should be integrated with medical. If we say COVID-19 crisis, actually social science is very important fix. Economy, how the economy affected with the COVID-19, affect everyone, even the best companies on the world now lose a lot of money. Therefore, multidisciplinary approach is a mandatory to work with. Therefore, actually, I will give you a simple model. COVID-19 as a model of multidisciplinary work, and this is how we think the future should be. If you look to the COVID-19 problem, COVID-19 has been fixed worldwide by integration, medical sector, bioinformatics, engineering sector, social science. Every sector been working, even within the same field. If we look to the medical sector, as Dr. Miteni may be involved in this, every clinician in different fields, people work in cardiology, CS, ICU, radiology, nursing, public health, everyone working. Engineering sector, yes, they are start to develop new technology to cope with that. Bioinformatic tools, it help a lot. Without bioinformatic tool, we as not ever to know we have new strain. How many strain we have now worldwide? Does the vaccine we use it now is available for this strain? This is how comes. It comes from multidisciplinary. The future is multidisciplinary. The future is to need to collaborate. Vaccine production, regularly we have 5 to 10 years. Now we have almost 5, 6 different types of vaccine. How it comes? It comes by integration, by interaction, also affecting social science and the COVID-19, yes, affects social science, affects political, affects economy, affects education. Therefore, I believe the future is collaboration between different fields and multidisciplinary. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Abdurrahman, for your nice presentation and touching on about what's going on in Cairo University, the oldest university in Egypt and in the region. And now, in the interest of time, I will move to Dr. Kim Critchley, the Provost University of Prince Edward Island.
Assalamu alaikum. I've been asked to talk about the future of technology, and that's a very different or very difficult question to answer. So I suppose the best way to look at our future is to look at the advancements that have been done in recent years. Technology, of course, has advanced very quickly. And I remember just a few years ago when we would log onto computers, they were very cumbersome. We had to type in every command we wanted the computers to do. And if you remember, we used to store our information on floppy disks that were very fragile and easily damaged. So now we have computers that almost run themselves. You no longer have to type in commands. You can either click icons or choose your option from your menu. People may think that the future of technology is about flying cars, robots, space traveling, and maybe it will be that, but to date, that's not where technology has made its most advances. In fact, companies and governments are mostly interested to achieve and find new technological advancements that would change the world markets. And as such, the greatest change that has been made is that of information technology. Already one of the most significant computer-later inventions, the internet, has changed the way we spread information globally. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, technology is everywhere. The highly digital life that we live and the development of our technology world has become a new normal for us. And I believe information technology is the fastest growing and the most advanced thing in our economy today. Almost everything is based on computers or some other form of technology to run it. Computers are constantly reformed. Computer systems can be out of date in a matter of months. Not only with computers, but also with mobile communications are the greatest advancements being made. The internet, as you know, is a worldwide network of connecting computers. This network enables us to communicate with the rest of the world in different ways. And it is estimated that a total amount of information globally doubles every 18 months. According to the International Telecommunications Union, almost 50% of the world's population uses the internet, leading to over 3.5 million daily searches on Google and more than 570 new websites being launched every minute. And even more mind-boggling is that 90% of the world's data has been created just in the last couple of years. This indicates that the internet, as an important part of media, affects every one of us, and even those in the world who may not have the ability to go online. The approximate number of people who are online daily is more than 18% of the world's population. Internet is not only a way to spend time surfing, although we all love to do that, but it is also a very good way to make money by transforming products, services, and markets. It's an easy way to reach people when you're thinking about advertising, and it's an easy way for people to reach out and find information they want. But the competition on the internet between companies and virtual reality can be as difficult as that in the real world. Technological change or innovation is a contributor to the growth of productivity. One of the most dynamic, high-tech developments is the obsolescence of money. The use of the internet and other new media marketplaces like interactive TV, these demand a kind of currency that is secure, virtual, global, and digital. This death of hard cash and the rebirth of digital currency will transform all transactions in society and touch industry worldwide. Technological change that reshapes growth will only intensify with artificial intelligence, advanced robotics, and cyber physical systems that take on the digital revolution to another level. We are on the cusp of what has been termed the fourth industrial revolution, and that is the revolution of technology. The emerging digital market and the new interactive consumer challenge our assumptions about how to conduct business. The new consumer is virtual, is global, is interactive, and is multimedia driven. Simple cash has changed into numbers on computers. People pay their bills online. They shop for home with the click of a keyboard, and they never really have to go out. They never really have to move as long as they have their computer. So one huge problem the future of technology will address will be that of energy. Already we know in the world that our sources of energy will someday be empty. Scientists and engineers have predicted that the technological trends that will reshape the world in the next 50 years will be high-powered energy packets. These high-powered energy packets, such as microgenerators of electricity, will make electronic products and appliances highly mobile, environmentally clean, and decentralized. Such sources will be like batteries linked to solar power, and small generators fueled by natural resources. And this is very much the focus of our Sustainable Design Engineering program at the Universities of Canada. Students look to fuel devices using wind, vegetable oil, and solar power. As the population of the Earth keeps increasing, we will also have to figure out how we are going to feed all the people who live here. Globally thinking, we are already suffering from a lack of food or food security. All over the world, hunger continues to be a big problem. Access to clean water is also a problem. Designer foods, genetically engineered foods that are environmentally friendly and highly nutritious will fill the stores. Even cotton and wool will be genetically altered and engineered. Water worldwide will be safe and inexpensive because technology will provide advanced filtering processes and delivery. Desalination of water extraction from air is also possible. In the years ahead, new technology will become more personalized, and they will closely affect almost every aspect of our lives. For education, textbooks will be online. Students will no longer have the excuse that they forgot their book. Testing and classroom discussions will take place in cyberspace. And as teachers, we may never have to get dressed in the morning. I think the next step in technology are computers that will think and learn as time goes by. From a faculty perspective, the internet will be used much more extensively. Books will certainly be replaced by electronic devices, and e-books and more classes will be offered online. Nanotechnology will make revolutionary changes in medicine, communication, and transportation. We will soon be able to build sophisticated machines on a very small scale, and devices in medicine will greatly improve. So to conclude this talk, in the future, technology will continue to get more and more powerful and will be able to do more for us. This will make our lives very much easier, but it would also make our lives far less private. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kim. And again, we'll move to Mr. Maged Arif.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أشكر دكتور محمود على التقديم، أشكر السادة الحضور. أنا توقعي إن variant إن الeducation والlearning محتاج طفرة. العالم محتاج طفرة، العالم محتاج تكامل بين عناصر التعليم كلها. العالم محتاج تكامل بين عناصر تكنولوجيا التعليم. أنا متفق مع مستر محمود الديب لما اتكلم قال إن الإديوكيشن تكنولوجي أو الإد تك هي دلوقتي هو ده المستقبل، هو ده المستقبل اللي المفروض نبقى مركزين عليه، نبقى شايفينه، نبقى بنستثمر فيه، بننفست فيه كلنا. هو ده مستقبل ولادنا، وهو دوت اللي يخلي ولادنا بيتغيروا، يخلي الكونتنت اكوزيشن عند ولادنا مختلف، يخلي الكونتنت ريتنشن عندهم مختلف. ساعة لما يجوا بيتعلموا حاجة فعلا بتثبت عندهم في نوليدج بيعرفوها فعلا وبيتفاعلوا فيها، بيبقى في انتراكتيفيتي. أنا من رأيي إن دايما إن الانتراكتيف ليرنينج ايكو سيستم هو ده المطلوب. الإديوكيشن تكنولوجي كتير دلوقتي وبقت متاحة جدا، بقت متاحة في العالم بشكل ضخم جدا، بس محتاجين ان احنا نكونكت بينها وبين بعض. الكونكشن دوت عن طريق ايكو سيستمز. الايكو سيستم هي منظومات تعليم متكاملة، منظومات تعليم متكاملة ومتفاعلة مع بعضها. منظومة التعليم ديت المفروض يكون فيها كل عناصر التعليم بتستخدم الاديوكيشن تكنولوجي بشكل يخلي زي ما قلنا الكونتنت اكوزيشن بتاع العمليه التعليميه مختلف، يخلي الكونتنت اكوزيشن في انتراكتيف ليرنينج. الانتراكتيف ليرنينج بيخلي في الاخر الطالب بيستوعب بشكل كبير جدا العلم اللي المفروض يوصل له، النوليدج اللي المفروض توصل له. الحاجات ديت فيها في تكنولوجيز كتير بتشتغل في القصص ديت، والمفروض ان يكون في التكامل ما بين التكنولوجيز ديت اللي بيعمل الكونتنت اكوزيشن والكونتنت ريتنشن العالي دوت. منها التكنولوجيز ديت الفيرتشوال رياليتي والاميرسيف ليرنينج ديت تكنولوجيز مهمه جدا ان هي تخش في العمليه التعليميه. مهم جدا ان الطلبه في هندسه ولا في طب يتخيل ويتعلم بالطريقه ديت، يتعلم وهو شايف وهو بيشوف قدام عينه العلم دوت. يعني العلم اتجسد قدام عينه، العلم باين قدام عينه وهو شايفه. في حاجات مهمه جدا زي الانستراكشنال ديزاين، ان ازاي نعيد الكريكولمز وازاي نعمل لها انستراكشنال ديزايننج او ري ديزايننج، بان هي في الاخر تحاكي التطور وتحاكي الكورسز والكونتنت بتاع الكورسز. ازاي ان فعلا الطالب يحس ان هو بيستقبل معلومه واضحه، بيستقبل معلومه ما ينساهاش، الكونتنت ريتنشن، ان هو ما ينساش المعلومه ديت. في تكنولوجيز كتير محتاجه الانتجريشن ما بين التكنولوجيز ديت، هو دوت اللي هيوصل لان في الاخر يخلي التكنولوجيز ديت بتوصل للطالب بسهوله، بتخلي الطالب بعد كده يعرف يروح لسوق العمل بسهوله. بعد كده الطالب عنده نوليدج وامكانيات وسكيلز ضخمه بتخلي في الاخر ان هو يعرف يبقى يخش سوق العمل بسهوله ويخش سوق العمل بقوه، ويبقى الجزء من الايكو سيستم دوت، انه يعرف ازاي يشتغل، ازاي يعرف ينتجريت جوه السوق العمل. ده بشكل عام دوت وجهة النظر يعني المفروض ان يشارك فيها الفي سيز، الفينتشر كابيتالست، يشارك فيها الانتربرونورز، تشارك فيها الجامعات، تشارك فيها الحكومات، علشان يعملوا المنظومات ديت منظومة ضخمة متكاملة تخلي البيزنس، تخلي التعليم زي ما بيشتغل في البيزنس، زي ما البيزنس يشتغل في التعليم بشكل يخليه انتجريتد ويخلي التعليم يوصل للناس، يبقى الكونتنت اكوزيشن يوصل بسهولة للطالب. متشكر جدا.
شكرا. شكرا مستر ماجد. maybe يعني موافقينك تماما على كل العرض او الطرح اللي حضرتك طرحته بالنسبه للمستقبل للطالب و how to be integrated وتأهيل الطالب لسوق العمل. But maybe I'll ask you the question and to Dr. Kim as well about all what's going on and we are expecting in the near future of technological changes and everything. As you said, Dr. Kim just said, you will not need to move from your place and everything will be on the computer. What's the impact of that again? And again, I asked this question before, but I'd like to repeat it, on the personality of the student, on shaping the student personality and integration of the future students in the society, in his small society as university and in the larger picture in the society at large. My biggest concern is that we, in spite of all the success at the technological level that we are all agree about it and looking forward for it, I have a big concern still for the personality and the way the future student will behave with his peers, with his colleagues, at work, being a father in the future or a mother. How do you see the impact of this kind of very rapidly changing education on the personality? Magid and then Kim.
then Kim. استاذنك تعيد السؤال يا دكتور تاني.
يعني
excuse me
يعني
English.
التغيير السريع في
I thought you
التعليم.
talking to Dr. Kim. I thought you were talking
التغيير
to Dr.
السريع
Kim.
على يعني الايفكت بتاعه على بناء الشخصيه، لان الجامعات مش مجرد تعليم.
تمام.
موضوع بناء الشخصيه.
تمام.
الطالب وانخراطه في المجتمع وفي سوق العمل والزملاء، ويبقى اب اسره او ست في المستقبل، لان دي اعتقد يعني قد يكون لها يعني not a very positive impact.
طبعا
او لا، ما اعرفش رايك ايه يعني.
طبعا لا طبعا ده مهم جدا، مهم جدا الانخراط الطلبه في العمليه التعليميه، بس تكون بشكل منظم ودقيق وذكي، يخلي الطالب يبقى عنده سكيلز كتير، يقدر بعد كده يشتغل في سوق العمل، يقدر بعد كده يبقى فعلا رب أسرة، يعرف يربي ولاده كويس، ويعرف يعلم أولاده كويس، يعرف يعلم ولاده إزاي إن هم السكيلز عندهم تبقى مختلفة، السكيلز عندهم.
هيعمل كده إزاي وهو منعزل في تعليم الجديد؟ هو ده السؤال.
بس الانعزال، ما هو الانعزال دوت،
المهارات دي هيجيبها منين؟
ليه هيكون منعزل؟ هو مش منعزل، هو هيكون باستمرار الانتراكتيف ليرنينج في بالعكس في تفاعل.
اوكي.
يعني في تفاعل كبير جدا بينه وبين الانستراكتورز والعمليه التعليميه ديت، فالانعزال لا، ما بيبقاش موجود في الفتره ديت.
اوكي، انت بتقول ان لا لسه في مساحه لكده. شكرا مستر ماجد.
شكرا
دكتور كيم. If you don't agree with the question and say no, there will be no problem, just say that, no problem.
I think what you raised is probably the ultimate challenge in education. So with the use of technology, we can certainly deliver content online. Students don't have to leave their bedroom in order to learn. And all of the advances of technology make that very easy for us now. However, if you look at the other side of what we're trying to do with students is prepare them for the real world, prepare them for the workforce. And there have been many studies done that looked at what are the qualities that employers are looking for in students. And what they're looking for is communication, both oral and written. They're looking for students who can critically think, who can problem solve, students that can work as teams, and students that can network, and students who have cultural intelligence. And all of those skills cannot be taught when a student is sitting in their bedroom on their own. So it is that university interaction, it's that engagement, it's that student life piece that we cannot lose in the face of technology.
Thank you very much for your answer, and I think you clarified the point. And now we'll move to Professor Leslie Crossford, the Senior Vice President of the BUE.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and you'll be delighted to know that I was invited to speak for 3 minutes. So I have 3 points, and I'm just going to preface them by quoting from T.S. Eliot, the poet, where he says, "We have the experience, but we miss the meaning. We have the experience, but we miss the meaning." We've had the experience of COVID. I think it's pretty difficult to miss that meaning, which is that we're going to do a lot more online. We're going to have a lot more technology-based education. And so my 3 points are all related, for my 3 minutes, to teaching and learning with relevance to technology-based education. To me, the absolute core of education, although the most famous universities in the world are the research-led ones, and although universities these days have community service and enterprise, the core of all universities is the teaching and the learning. And so the big question for us is, what do we do in a world where we have predominantly technology-led education, whether it be blended, whether it be online, or whether it be hybrid? I think the first point I'd make there is that this puts increased pressure on the students, because although we may be very enthusiastic about technology, it is depriving the student experience, Zoom and chat rooms notwithstanding, of the social experience of education. And it is personal development in education, not merely skills training for employment, that is the real core of education. Without that, one is not a university, one is a technology institute. And so, as we look at what's really required, we see that support for students is going to be much greater if we're going to go increasingly for technology related education. It is going to require us, and this is my second point, to completely change the way we think of what we're teaching. At the moment, we're predominantly concerned with the nature of content, but it is in fact content that is most bemusing to students. And what we need to do, I would argue, is follow the contours of the student's mind, their capacities to assimilate. They do not assimilate at the level of logical progression of content. They have oxbows. They sometimes phase out. They resist. They sometimes get lost, and they sometimes come back. Therefore, educational psychology and a very precise analysis of how students are reacting to how we're teaching is necessary. We have to go at the rate of the students. We have to go at the rate of their assimilation of what we're saying, I think. And that leads me to my third point. We therefore need to be student-centered in our focus, and this requires an absolute shift in the nature of teaching. People who teach are usually far remote from where the students' minds currently are. Our students know much more than we do, which is why they prefer to learn from each other than to learn from us. And therefore, we have to forget everything we currently know, and we have to try and understand how the students and the contours of their minds are working. And that cannot be simply something that we do accidentally, in an amateurish fashion, just learning from what our next door neighbor was doing in his or her class. What we have to do is look at this in a systematic way. And I think as new universities are springing up, and as universities are seeking to establish themselves and retain themselves in the international world, it's necessary for us completely to transform the nature of the teaching, which I consider, as I said, to be the basis of the university. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Leslie, for your insight and thoughts about, actually, you're seeking a total revolution now. We have to forget about a lot of things. Okay. So, now we'll move to Dr. Hossama Osman, the Vice President of ETIDA. Do you have a mic beside you?
مساء الخير. So please first allow me to thank Professor Ali Shamsuddin for the kind invitation, and of course it's a great pleasure and great honor to be on a panel moderated by Ain Shams University President like Professor Dr. Mahmoud Al-Meteni. So it's good that I'm kind of at the end of the I don't know why it's turning, okay. At the end, so that I will somehow summarize what have been said so far, and at the same time I will focus on some insights, and please be aware that the insights that I'm going to say are based on the work we do at Software Engineering Competence Center. It's a center that's part of ETIDA, IT Industry Development Agency. I will be very brief, just highlighting a few insights and talking about the main focus for the panel when we talk about the role and the impact of technology. We call what we do, we call it SURA, which is brief to Smart University Reference Architecture. SURA, Smart University Reference Architecture. One thing that's mandated by technology to be able to react to different situations and things like the pandemic and so on, you need to divide the business into intelligent component. So when you are a university or any enterprise, it's very much a good practice now to divide your business into capability. So please be aware that when I describe a university, I'm going to talk about capability of a university. And when I'm going to talk about how technology will impact universities, it means how they will impact capabilities of university. As you see on the slide, we have 6 main capability areas. We call them smart capability area. Smart learning, smart assessment, smart support, smart operation, smart classroom, and smart campus. 6 capability area composed of 34 capabilities. Due to the time limit, I'm not going to go through all of them. I just need to highlight some important ones because they're kind of missing nowadays when we talk about the situation in Egypt. So when I mean smart support, in this case I'm talking about many things, among which talking about entrepreneurship, about technology transfer, talking about alumni ecosystem. And when I talk about smart assessment capabilities, talking about test assessment, assignment assessment, digital certificate. When I talk about smart learning, I'm talking about authoring, content management, student research support, and other things. So we need to somehow understand exactly what kind of capabilities under each area. When I say smart operation, what I have in mind at this moment is payment, e-payment, financial inclusion of students and e-payment. When we mention smart campus, it's about environment, safety, security, cost efficiency, and so on. So again, I just need to keep emphasizing this: 6 capability areas and 34 capabilities. Like before my talk, we mentioned like content, we mentioned interaction, engagement. All these aspects are kind of covered by the 34 capabilities that I mentioned. Okay, so where are the technology on this? So, like before, for instance, we used to talk about user experience or UI. Now the future is about total experience. It's not about user experience, it's about total experience. I mean, they call multi-experience, employee experience, staff experience, student experience. So one thing coming out of the pandemic, for instance, that the new experience, somehow we need to maximize being touchless. We need to maximize this as part of the new experience, to be touchless, to kind of cope with the situation will be the post-pandemic situation. One important impact of technology is to collect digital dust. Collect digital dust. We used to talk about Internet of Things, but now we need to talk about Internet of Behavior. Allow me, like I'm using the terminology, I mean that's the terminology used by Gartner when they talk about the new trend in technology. You need to understand the student behavior while learning, while moving on campus. You need to understand the faculty behavior. So it's not really Internet of Things, it's Internet of Behavior. So how technology will impact the future, we are more and more focusing on behavior. You need to collect data and understand the behavior to optimize benefits and improve productivity and efficiency and so on. You have to do so while at the same time protecting another aspect of technology, which is privacy. So you have privacy, you have security, but at the same time, you need to understand behavior. Another aspect important for technology, I'm just talking about one slide. I have many slides, but I decided to focus on the insight on that slide in particular because of the time limit. And at the same time to take advantage of the few minutes to highlight the important concept. So we have Internet of Behavior, we have data privacy, we have cyber security, we have total experience, and we have what's called hyper-automation. We used before to talk about automation. You need to automate the different processes here and there, but now it's hyper-automation. You automate using improved and better technology. Like now you need to automate using AI techniques as software bots or robotic process automation, RPA and so on, that you need to enhance the way you automate your processes. So in all the capability area that we have on the slide, it's very important that you hyper-automate using the new technology. Last but not least, what they call AI engineering. Again, that's the future, AI engineering. What's AI engineering? It's not about AI when it comes to application, but it's about AI when it comes to understanding, to model the whole learning experience. And it's about AI when you understand the data, the big data that you are collecting. They call AI in application, in data, and in model, AI engineering. So the 6 technology area that will very much impact each and every enterprise, including university, Internet of Behavior, data privacy, cyber security, AI engineering, total experience, and I forgot one, I believe. I mentioned 5. Let's do them again. So we have AI engineering, Internet of Behavior, total experience, data privacy, cyber security. I think one is missing. I mentioned one, but I think it's missing. It's again related to how you can understand and model the learning experience. Yeah, it's related to composite everything in terms of capability. Everything has to be defined as capability. One thing that I need to emphasize now, the Supreme Council of University running some project nowadays. It's running project related to e-exam, learning management system, content management system, and certification, and smart card. if I map this to the capability that we are talking about, so that's how we can group them. Like what's happening now within the SCCU, that's how we can group them to capabilities. We can group them to the one related to content management, learning management system, and e-exam related to the red ones. The blue ones related to the action of digital certification, and the green one related to the action of campus and classroom being efficient and smart. So due to the time limit, I'm just trying to give some insight about what we do, and I will be very much pleased to talk more if any universities or like educational institute willing to understand what we are doing at the Software Engineering Competence Center and how we can help each and every university to become smart and to be more capable in what they do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hussam, for this very nice, informative presentation, actually. And I like Surah very much. And maybe you'll come one day and share your experience with us. Anybody would, if you can just elaborate a little bit about the Internet of Behavior.
Okay.
Just on this Internet of Behavior.
Okay, sure. You see what's happening now on the computer, Google. Like Google now is not understanding your text, it's understanding your behavior. Like it's not only about if I will give you an ad for Amr Diab. It's not about whether you will like it or not, whether you will click it or not. With time, it's understanding your behavior, what you like and what you hate. So if you can understand the student behavior in campus, where they go, where they like to form a crowd.
And this will not be linked in a way to the AI?
It can be done through the AI techniques.
Usually,
IoT in addition to AI.
AI, yeah. Well, thank you very much. Now to the last speaker, Mr. Ihab Salama, the CEO of Swedi Education.
Thank you, Dr. Mahmoud. Thank you, Dr. Ali. I know it's been a long day for everyone. I'll just try to make it short. Basically, I see that education and technology are very highly linked, and look from a perspective, from a different perspective, we need to focus on how we build the student capabilities and how we build how we teach them the skills. The skills acquired during their education period is really what determines their job placement and in the job market, and what the job market is required, because we need to understand that many jobs will be disappearing very soon, and new jobs will arise, and how these students will be able to adapt to the job market. So it's education will be a lifelong process. It won't be really focusing on just the years of the university or the schools and then later on I'm done. No, it will be a lifelong experience. It will be how to acquire the knowledge along the ways, and be ready that I have to change my career every 5-6 years. That's what the future will look like. Another aspect that everyone tends to forget, the creativity. How am I going to build the creativity of the students learning online? And so campuses will always be there. Maybe they will shrink in size. Blended learning, I think, is the future. The question here, and to everyone, no one will know. No one knows what the technology will change and impact the education. However, as industry leaders sitting now, it's how we determine the change. It's us that we need to determine the change and how we're going to embrace it. Otherwise, the change is coming, no doubt. But otherwise, the students are the ones who are going to suffer. And later on, it will affect and will have an economic impact. Think about it. What if a job of a professor disappears? Because you can, universities are starting to think to record a lecture or something and then play it on for the rest of the year or the rest of the semester. So it's how we embrace the change. It's how technology and education linked. It needs to be determined by the industry leaders. I think this is very important aspect that we need to take into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ihab, and thank you for your short comment in the interest of time, although it's very important and you touch important points. And you said that the industry, that the change is coming. Actually, the change came already and it arrived already, and as more fast than we all imagined a few years ago. Speaking about that some jobs will disappear and other jobs will appear. And I think if I can remember well, the McKinsey report of the 2018 spoke a lot about that. And it's already happening, and it's all in the context of the new technologies and so forth. And so we have to prepare our students for an ever-changing labor market and changing faster than it used to be. So I think it was a very good session with a lot of vision and insights and ideas and thoughts that we all shared together. And if somebody, I will try to wrap up what have been said about the campus, the new campus. And I'm happy that you have just mentioned that the campus will not disappear. It will shrink. I agree with that because we need it, and the student needs it, and the university life needs it. Maybe it will change a little bit. It will shrink. It will go into blended learning that will increase as we go. And again, I agree with this idea. Whether the professor career or the professorship will disappear, I don't agree with that. I think we'll always need it. Maybe he will be more online than used to be face-to-face, but it will stay, at least for a while, at least in our lifetime. I don't know if anybody would like to add anything before we conclude the session. Yes?
Just one word, actually.
Yes, go ahead.
To be clear here, I believe that the technology and education are not in competition. And what I would love to see the education leaders are actually leading the technology to the way that they need to do it, rather than technology taking the lead. Education is here for the last 10,000 of years. It's before even BC. At the early time, education was there, before technology. Technology is just maybe 200 years, 100 years, if you think about as a technology. So I would love to see, actually, as just a normal person, I would love to see education taking the lead, dictating on the technology leaders what you'd like to see. Otherwise, international companies and big companies actually, they jump and they will draw the line for educations. And I don't like to see that. Thank you.
So you want us, the educators, to drive and not the
yes,
IT.
Absolutely,
thank you for
yes.
that. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So with this very important comment, I think I'll thank you very much. Thank you for the panelists, and I would conclude this session. Thank you very much.